Hello and welcome to Microsoft Dynamics NAV 2018 What's New. It's my pleasure today to present 10 new features of the Dynamics NAV application. My name is Tom Taylor. I'm a Microsoft Technology Strategist. So let's begin by taking a look at our first feature called Setup and Extensions. In NAV 2018, we've organized an activity group where all your settings are on the Role Center. And in this activity group, you have all of the assisted setups to configure the application. You have an area of different manual setups categorized by different modules in the application. And then you have service connections and add-ons where you can go in and do configurations with other services, as well as also installing extensions in the application. And extensions are additional functionality that you're able to pull down from app source into the application to extend the functionality. This is a screenshot of the actual setup and extensions activity group. And as you can see, there's the assisted setup, there's the manual setup with the various categories. And so when you select on general or finance, it will filter. And then you have your service connections, your extensions, and then a data migration overview. Let's actually jump to the application and take a look at this in NAV 2018 Windows Client. So this is the Role Center for the Business Manager in Dynamics NAV 2018. On the bottom left-hand side in the activity group of Setup and Extensions, basically categorizes, as I mentioned, the various wizards when you begin to install the application. So these are wizards that simplify the process of setting up things like migrating data, setting up sales tax, email logging, integration to sales as examples. As we go down to the manual setup, this is a listing in one place of all the various setups in the application. And you'll notice there's a column here for area, which further filters over here the different subsets of these manual setups. So one place you can go, one place to actually look at all the setup parameters for the application. And then, for example, if you're interested in intercompany, you could drill down to that subset and begin then with the intercompany setup, defining your partners, chart of accounts, and dimensions. Service connections are other services that you can connect to in the application. As you can see, the service connections I have enabled, what's connected, and what's disabled in the application. So again, one spot where you can do the various connections. In today's demonstration, for example, I use the service connections, the OCR setup. That's one thing we'll look at a little bit later. It's also the image analyzer setup. We'll be using that as well as the Dynamics 365 connection setup. And then last is the extensions that are in the application. And the ones that are listed here are the standard Microsoft provided extensions on AppSource. But also, as you would design the application in NAV 2018, you have the new in-client designer. When you save the design, it actually creates an extension here, and you can see that, and then uninstall or unpublish that extension. The next application feature I'd like to talk about is something called user task. And user tasks are system-wide, and they allow you to assign users to either tasks such as running reports or any report in the application, as well as also specific pages that you can go to. These tasks can be reoccurring, and also you get an activity pending user task tile on your roll center. And then there's a utility that you can actually delete those. Let's just take a look here in the screenshot. So you can see here on the roll center, there is a feature here on the left-hand side called Pending User Task under My User Task there. And these is an example of what's set up. So let's go back to the application. Go over to the Windows client and go back to the roll center. And you'll notice in the bottom here, My User Task, I have 8 pending tasks. So in preparation for this demonstration, I set up a task called Posting Dates. Let's take a look at the posting date task, for example, for May here. So I can put in the subject, posting dates, a description. So this is an activity that happens each month in user setup where I put my from and to posting dates. And I can assign this. In this case, I've assigned it to myself, the administrator. And then I can do recurring entries with this. So this is where I set up the, in this case, recurring entries for the entire year. So I can specify my start date, how often I want it to recur. So like 1N, 1W, however often you want to do that. And then the number of occurrences that it creates. You also, from the user task, can actually go to the task item. In this case, you'll notice on the bottom left-hand side of the page, on the bottom left here, I have the task item page and page number 119, which is the user setup. And these are the fields actually that you would have an update on a monthly basis. Now, let's set up a new one, for example. Let's do one, say we want to run an age trial, an aging on a weekly basis, for example. So I can just put aging, for example, here. Let's just do aging for AR. I'll skip the description. I will assign it to myself. So let's assign it to admin here. And we'll start it today, let's say. And we'll just do today, and then we can select, in this case, we're going to do a report. Here's the options, report or page. So let's choose report. And then the report I want to run is report number 109, which is the summary aging report. And then I can simply here go to the task, for example, and then you can preset the filters how you want those in the task and save those. As well as also I can set up recurrence. So maybe I want to run this starting today once a week for, let's say, 4 weeks. And what that'll do is generate then a task for individual tasks in the list. We'll close out, come back to the pending user task, and you can see the aging ARs have been listed. And notice that this one's in red because it's due today. So anything that's past due will be highlighted, as well as you also can put a priority. Next, I'd like to talk about employee ledger entries. This allows us to actually pay employees without having to create vendor cards for the employees. You're able to do journal entries. So when you go into a journal, in the actual type field, there is one called employee that you can actually enter in. You go to the employee card and specify the posting group that employee will post to. And then you're actually able to go into the payment journal and generate employee payments from the payment journal. And then you can link those actually to the journal that you posted and actually generate the payment, either through check or through electronic fund transfers. And you can get a list then of all your outstanding employee payments in that suggested list. So this is a look at the employee card at the bottom left. There's a fast tab added called Payments. And then in the general journal here, you actually put in your journal line. The document type would be blank, your document number, your employee, and then you choose the employee, put in a minus amount for your amount, and then post that to the ledger. Let's go to the application and take a look. So let me go here to my employees, and let's look at Annette Hill. And you can see up on the ribbon now, Annette, actually, let's open up Annette, take a look at the card. You can see the fast tab at the bottom here. Let's minimize some of these. So this is where I've added my posting group. And you can also add the bank information about the employee for the electronic fund transfers. And in this case here for Annette, look at her ledger entries. You can see that there's actually been an entry for a cell phone. If I would go into the payment journals, let's go to Finance, go to the payment journal. I then can actually edit the journal here. In this case, it's the bank journal. And I can select Suggest Employee Payments, put my parameters in, and say OK. And it will then generate the employee payment for the $75 to Annette. The next feature is something called Image Analyzer. And this uses machine learning to actually take pictures and be able to, in the case of a picture of a person, it will detect their age as well as their gender. In the case of a picture of an item, it will identify the picture and suggest attributes for the item of that picture. So this is a picture of an item card. In this case, it's with a table. And you'll notice that we have a notification about we can assign attributes based upon importing this and using the image analyzer. So in this situation, it identified, and notice it has confidence score, that this is a table, it's indoor and furniture. So when you get the confidence, you can choose which action you want to perform, whether it's a category or an attribute, and then you can add that to the fact box under the item attributes. Let's take a look at this in the application. Now on this, I'm going to show this through the Dynamics 365 Business Edition of Finance and Operations, just because I didn't have it configured the API settings in my Dynamics NAV 2018 image. So let's go over to the application. Let me resume here. And I first want to start with a contact here once I connect to the service. So if I go, for example, let's just search for contact. Let's do contacts. Let's create a new contact. So we'll create a new contact record, and we want this record to be, we'll just put in Tom as the contact, and we want to do a person. It actually, the image analyzer works with a person type contact. So let's choose a person on this contact record, and then we'll go actually attach the individual record. Import a picture. Let's try this one more time. Let's do a new contact. Here's my contact record. Let's make this a person contact. And let's connect a picture. So let's go choose pictures. And for example, let's take this picture. And notice when I import the picture, it will populate down in the profile questionnaire the actual detected gender as well as the age. Now, I want to take a look at another picture, which is a little closer, and I'm smiling a little bigger, which will make me look younger. So let's take this one, for example, and open that. And you can see then from this picture, it takes me down 5 years of age. Now, this same thing applies also over into the items. So let's go back to the Role Center and go into items. And let's just scroll down here and find us a table. So let's take the Athens desk, for example, here. And what I can do now is on the actual analyze picture, I can click that, and then it will show the different attributes that it determined. So this is very similar to what was in the PowerPoint. So it's a table, it's indoor, it's furniture. This I use as a category. This one I might choose as I want to use it as an attribute within the category. Okay. And I also can look at all attributes that came back. So you can see there's others here as well, the different type of table it is. In this case here, it's a work table. So maybe I want to take that and make that as an attribute as well, even though the confidence was low on that. So that's how the image analyzer can be used to determine and provide attributes based upon pictures. Now, if I went to set up a new item, for example, maybe a bicycle, you'll notice it acts very much like it did when I imported my picture. As I import the picture, it will automatically run the image analyzer. So let's just say this is a bicycle. And then if I just simply click import and choose picture, let's click on this one. And notice that it will pop up then and give me attributes based upon that. So again, a bicycle, it's transportation, and I can categorize that. So that's the image analyzer. The next feature I'd like to discuss is Power BI reporting. Now, it's been embedded in the application in NAV 2017. In the role centers, you can embed it. And what we've added in 2018 is the ability to have Power BI reports that will filter on a list page. So your Power BI reports can go in the fact boxes on the right-hand side. And then as you select the record, it'll update the fact box with information about that specific record. Another thing we've done is simplify the connection from the application into Power BI using Azure Active Directory. So you basically, when you start the connection from your content pack, you put your company name in, and then you put your username and password. And we use OAuth authorization now to actually make the connection. So this is a look of a role center where we have the fact box and we've highlighted Litware, and that's a specific Power BI report for them. And then as you can see, as you arrow down, the information updates in the Power BI. So let's go take a look at that. Let's go back over here. Let's close out of here. Go back to our role center. And for example, let's go to customers. And you'll notice that, for example, Coho Winery, you can see that the Power BI report's refreshing here. And then as I would, for example, click on Litware, you can see that it updates the report as I select off of the list page. Now, I'm going to jump over here into the powerbi.com, and what I want to do is go to my workplace here and look at the reports, and then just type in list. So these are the list of Power BI content packs that are provided for finance and operations currently today. So you've got jobs, customers, purchase invoices, sales orders, and vendors lists that off the list pages, you can see the fact box and the information updates. Now for Dynamics NAV 2018, when you go to the content packs, these are not out there yet. They will be coming in the future. But what is provided with Dynamics NAV 2018, let's go back over to the Role Center, are the web services that support this. So if I go into web services in 2018 here, you'll notice that I have all the web services to support the content packs. So if I just do a search here and let's just type in list, what you'll see is that all of these ones say in Power BI are the web services that support those list pages. So what you can do to actually create your own, you can set up yourself a trial in the Finance and Operations Business Edition and go out here to the trial and take a look at one of these, for example. And what you'll notice is you can then build that and build your own for Dynamics NAV 2018 or build different ones. So for example, if I edit this report here, you can see it's filtering as well as this is the data set that we're bringing in. The next feature I would like to talk about is enhancements around the Dynamics 365 for sales integration. So we've simplified the assisted setup through the wizard to actually be able to configure the integration between NAV 2018 and Dynamics 365 for sales. As well as when you run, it prompts you to couple your salespeople from NAV to sales application. And you can then run the full synchronization, which will actually run in the background, and you're able to still go and do other work while that's running. A couple things around productivity. When you create sales or purchase documents, the default salesperson is specified for the user's account. You also, in an opportunity management, you can have a default chance of success. And when you send a quote, you can send a quote now from a contact without having to create a customer first. In addition, we also have the ability to do write-in products over in the sales application and then send those over for fulfillment and invoicing in Dynamics NAV. As we send orders from the sales application to NAV 2018, previously you'd have to go into a queue and automatically create the order. Now we've automated through the job queue entries a process to automatically do that. So you can turn it on or off in the CRM setup of whether you want the orders to automatically be generated. So this is a look at the new setup screen, and you'll notice we have some advanced settings where you specify the actual change. So the actual ability to automatically process those orders that you send over from the sales application to NAV 2018. So let's take a look at a demonstration of the sales integration. I have to restart the client there, timed out on me. Let's go into the CRM setup. Oops, it's not CRM, it's 365. And let's go to the setup there. While we're waiting on the setup to come up, let's go over to the actual sales application. Now I'm logged in here, notice, as Peter Sato. And if I go into sales here and go to accounts, I'll see only the accounts from Dynamics NAV 2018 that belong to Peter. And for example, here I can open up the Canon group. And once I open up the Canon Group account card, I have the ability on the right-hand side to see my statistics about balances, outstanding order information from the Dynamics NAV 2018 application. So on the right-hand side, you can see the various balances, outstanding orders, service type of information, credit limit, and that information is updated through the job queue entries, and you can specify the amount of time that you want to refresh that back to Dynamics sales, 365 sales. Now I want to go into orders here. I've pre-created an order with a write-in product. That's what I wanted to demonstrate. So let's go to orders for the Canon group. I've got this installation service Taylor here. If I open up that, we can actually see the order. And you'll notice that in the product name here, I just called it the same thing, installation service Taylor. And that's a write-in product. That product does not exist. There's a setup over in the integration where you specify actually the item you use. It has to be a service item over in the NAV 2018 side. So I'm going to go ahead now and submit this order. And now that's been submitted. You can see at the bottom to the application. Let's go over to NAV 2018. This finally came up to set up there just to show you the authentication details as well as the advanced settings that have been added. Now let me close this, and this is the role center for the, let's go to the role center for the order processor here. So I'm going to do my settings. I'm going to change this to the order processor, the sales order processor. And the reason I'm doing that, because the 365, there's on the activity group, in the menu, there's actually an option for the order, for the sales orders from Microsoft Dynamics 365 sales. So we'll click this list. Now, I have it configured to automatically generate the sales order that comes over. And I have that set to run about every 5 minutes. Once we activate this queue here, we can actually look at the order. So let's go to the menu here. And let's view it. And I'm going to go ahead and create it versus waiting on the job queue, but that feature is to automatically be able to do that. So we can see the product here with quantities, and the product ID has not been set yet. That's set by the setup. So we'll create this in Dynamics NAV. And then this will take it out of this queue and put it into an active sales order in the application. So this is the actual sales order that's been created. And notice this is the write-in product that I created here. And again, you could change your description based upon what you've done. And then from here, we can actually post this. And then by posting, it'll send this invoice through the job queue entries back over to the sales application, as well as also in 5 minutes or so, the statistics based upon my job queue refresh rate that I set, it'll update the statistics as well back on the account card. So I went ahead and post this order, and let's look at the posted invoice here. And again, versus waiting on the posted invoice, you also can come over here and say create this invoice in 365, Dynamics 365 for sales. So let's click on that. And again, that puts an entry in the job queue to actually send the invoice over. So now if I come back over here and go back to, let's say, my accounts. Actually, I can just go to my invoices. Let's do that. Go to invoices. And it's not come over yet. But in a second, that invoice will pop up over here. And then we can actually also look at the order and see that the order has been billed. So let's go back to accounts. And let's take the Canon group. And from there, we can select orders. And you can see this order's been invoiced. And let's see if the invoices come through the job queue yet. Yep, there it is. Installation service Taylor through the job queue. Next, I'd like to talk about enhancements with syncing vendor information to the optical character recognition. So actually, Lexmark actually was acquired by a company called Kofax. So when we actually go in the application, you'll see Kofax versus Lexmark. And what we've done here is ability to send vendor information up to the service, so it's better able to identify when it receives a purchase invoice who the vendor is. So to eliminate errors and increase quality of detecting the vendor for the first time. And out of the box, you don't have to enable this sync, so if you don't want to provide your vendor information to the OCR service, you have the option of setting that on or off in the OCR setup. So this is looking at the OCR setup screen, and you can see the two green boxes, one up on the ribbon where you can sync your master data up to the service, the OCR service, and then in the general fast tab where you can actually enable the master sync, and then the last time that it actually synced. So now let's take a look at a demonstration of the OCR. Now I'm going to change the role center back here to Business Manager since I have incoming documents on that role center. So let's just quickly change that. Switch over here to Business Manager. And then on the tiles, I'll select my incoming documents. And I've already created an incoming document that I want to send to the service. While we're waiting on that, I need to log in here. Let me get my username here for the service. So let's see, I got timed out. Let's put the user in and the password. Log into the service, and notice it says Kofax there. And let's go back over to our role center here. Refresh that. And notice in my incoming documents now on the Business Manager role center, let's select that. And you'll notice I've attached this purchase invoice here. So let's open and take a look at the PDF file. So this is what we're sending off to the service, and the service will actually then generate this purchase invoice automatically. So let's go ahead and send that up to the service. So I'm just going to select here, send to OCR. Now, there's also job queues where once they're in here and they're released, they can automatically be sent up and automatically received by setting up the job queue entries for the send to OCR service and receive from OCR service. Now, let's go over to ReadSoft here. And notice that I have one record, so let's verify. And I want to look at the new view. This is the old view of Kofax. We actually have a new view. Let's switch over to that. So this is a new UI for the OCR service. Now I have configured the OCR service to review documents every single time I send those. There's an option when you set up the OCR service of whether you want to never review them and let the service just handle them, and it'll kick back errors into the application. You also can have it where if there's a problem, you can view it, or you can say always view it. Now, and I'm using the always view here. And the reason I'm doing that is so I can show you the vendor information. So let's open up this record that was sent. And what you'll see is the document itself. And then you can verify information. So let's let this load. While I'm waiting on that, let's see if I can bring up the vendor information here. And I'm waiting on the document to load. Let's go back to ReadSoft. Now, once the document would appear here, I then can select with my arrow the different fields on here. Seems like we're having a little problem with the service, so I'll just go ahead and enter and accept these values. But you would see the document here, and you can select. So, for example, if a phone number was on the document, you simply can put your cursor down here in the phone number, and then double click, and that'll select that field. Now, it has selected the amounts. Well, it looks like we have a service. We're going to have to move on with this. So, but what would happen is it would come back in, and in my incoming documents, it would actually generate the purchase invoice from that point. And then from there, you can do things like approvals, workflow approvals, and that type of stuff to actually process payment for the document. So this is actually a screenshot here of the Lexmark Kofax service, and you'll notice behind here, if I go back, you can actually see on the left-hand side the document, and this is the vendor information that shows up in the service. And on the vendor list pages, you can actually sync from there as well, and also in the OCR setup, the vendor with the service. The next feature I'd like to discuss is pre-configured Excel reports. So for these financial type documents, you can see on the screen, we have the ability to produce these in an Excel layout, save that Excel layout on your device, and then simply refresh that by using the add-on that we have with Excel, Refresh Your Data. And you can change dates and filters and stuff within the Excel report. So here from the Business Manager Role Center, you can see where you select your reports in Excel formats. So let's go back to the Role Center and take a look at that. Let's close the incoming documents. Up on the ribbon here, I've got my Excel reports that I can select from here. And just for the sake of time, I actually have this report open down here, and I selected the Aging AR report. So again, this report now is local on my device, and I've set filters here. So right now my filter is January the 1st of 2017, and I can see that my balances and my everything is current at that time. If I would change this, for example, to March 1st of 2017 and say done, I then can hit refresh, and what you'll see is that the current column, some of those will move out to 30 days. So it's updated in real time, going back to the application based upon these filters. And in the income statements and balance sheets, you can do from and to dates. There's multiple filters you can use depending upon the report that you have. So if I wanted to go in and maybe I wanted to select, let's say, July 1st of that, and say done. And then you can see things will move to the right and be more past due. Next is about North America electronic fund transfer enhancements. So we've created now default file format configurations for the U.S. electronic fund transfer, for Canadian and international, as well as the bank export defaults that we have. So you actually can take these configurations and then modify them specific for your bank if need be. This is just a screenshot of the data exchange definitions, as well as a look at the generate EFT files, which gives you a history of the data that you're sending from this feature. And in addition, there are another 10 or so enhancements in the application, additional improvements. The item charges now, you can distribute by volume and weight. The transfer orders no longer need to use an in-transit location. Updated name on the VAT. Master data addresses for customers and vendors can be updated from the sales and purchase documents now as you update those. Also, when you do a search with your magnifying glass, we have the ability to show the actual end product, the help information. When you do a search, it'll give you to where you go to the help information for that as well in the search. In the intercompany processing, we've now automated the inbox and outbox processes for purchases and sales documents. Now, if it's a journal type document, it still has to be, it's still in the inbox. It's not automated. You have to go into the inbox to pull the journals because it doesn't know what type of batch that you have. So, but this is really a nice enhancement. Bulk invoicing, posting groups or suggestions of accounts. GL registers, you can see we now can show details. We have new reports for received, not invoiced, purchase orders and shipped, and not invoiced sales orders. Ability to print checks, 3 checks per page, and also ability to payroll imports. Now, in addition to that, this is a hyperlink here up the top, and I'll provide the deck as well. This will take you to the docs.microsoft.com where all of the NAV 2018 documentation is. And you can see that we have business process documentation, development and administration. So if you want to learn more, in NAV 2018 now has the new dev environment, development and AL, you can refer to that. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your time today and enjoy Dynamics NAV 2018.